Hello. I want to say never hit a softball. Always hit a hardball. And when you hit a softball, you do a disservice to yourself and you don't help the people you're trying to help. You hurt them. You set them backwards, not forwards. They need the hardball. They need to know the truth. And that's the hardball. To soften the hardball is to justify what they do in their own mind to soften the hardball, which is the wrong thing to do. Instead of facing their problems, they run from their problems. And they don't want to face their problems. Nobody wants to face their problems if they don't have to. That's why people get a loan. That's why people uh, eat at McDonald's because they don't want to cook. They don't want to go to the store. They don't want to buy the hamburgers. They don't want to make the hamburgers. Go to McDonald's, give them $5, $10 now, it's $20, and call it a day. You'll die 20 years younger for it, but it was easy when I did it. And I don't know. You know, but the government gives you softballs, you know, and I say you're only getting half the story, and that's the problem. You're only getting half the story. Now we just had in Queens yesterday, I think it was, or the other day, where this woman Angel was killed in Jordan by an Iranian missile, and nothing to take away from that. That it was horrible. It's on Trump's head. Trump owns that death, owns that girl's life, and nobody else. And not Iran, nobody, just Trump. And, they didn't paint it that way when they had the funeral. They painted her as a brave individual. And I'm not saying she wasn't. And I'm not saying her death wasn't tragic. And it was was I, it was supposed to be an ideal sacrifice to the country, but it really was a waste because the whole war is a waste. But they're using her like they use 9/11 victims to get support for the war. And just like they created 9/11 victims when the United States government did 9/11, they created her death to get your support for war, which means weapons manufacturers, the business of war, and the billions and trillions that go into war. And that's what they want you to support. And they'll kill her, they'll kill thousands of people like they did on 9/11 to get that support, to get that money, to get the influx of US dollars, government dollars on weapons and everything that goes into that. And that's what it's all about. The business of war. And they didn't have the same funeral for the hundreds of little girls in Iran that we killed with our missile strike and the teachers that were with those girls. And we killed hundreds of girls, little girls, and their teachers for absolutely no reason. And somehow they're the villains. They're the bad guy. But we come off smelling like roses. Like we're good. We're good. And they're bad for killing one soldier. Well, they killed 18, but still doesn't pale in comparison to the young girls that they killed and all the other Iranians that have been killed in the process of this war. And it's just that's half the story. You're getting half the story, and and you're accepting half the story because you're not trying to stop the war, and you don't care to stop the war. All you care about is the $4 in gas that you're paying every day, and that's all you care about. You don't care about anything but anything that passes your nose. If it's past your nose, you don't care about it. And it's the money that's coming out of your pocket, and that's all you care about.